Hey, what's happening, everybody? Today I wanted to share with you a couple pieces of information, but let's start off out here in the garden under the kumquat tree. This is a Nagami kumquat tree, absolutely loaded down with fruits. Just check out how beautiful this tree is, glowing and glistening in the sun. Now what makes the kumquat so unique is that you can actually consume the entire fruit, including the outside skin layer. And although it may be somewhat of an acquired taste, I actually really enjoy them. I'm happy to have this edible crop in my landscape. And besides just eating them out of hand, there are other things that you could do to utilize the harvest. There's different dessert recipes out there, whether it's a preserve, a jam, or some other dessert style recipe, or even a health tonic. My wife has a coworker who always asks for some of the kumquats because she turns it into a fermented at-home cold and flu remedy. It can be added into teas or taken by the spoonful. And even the leaves of citrus trees can be brewed into a tea. Just a couple leaves, and you'd be amazed at how much flavor imparts from those leaves into the water. It's actually quite delicious. Yet another usage for the kumquat tree, and I learned this from a neighbor who shared with me his family's old Vietnamese tradition of taking citrus leaves mixed with a bit of lemongrass, boiling that in water, taking it off the burner, then placing a towel over your head and inhaling the steam as a way to decongest and alleviate some of the aches and pains of your common colds and flus. So if you're not yet already growing a kumquat tree, I highly recommend you look into it. Varieties such as this dwarf Nagami stay rather small and almost shrub-like. Even in colder climates, you could easily protect this using a greenhouse, a hoop house, a high tunnel. So with a little bit of ingenuity, you could survive this tree even in some of the coldest climates and have yourself a delicious treat come late January, early February, before most of the other fruit trees have begun producing any food. If you want an example of this, I suggest you do a search online for greenhouse in the snow. There's a gentleman in Nebraska who's growing citrus trees in a thermal mass heated greenhouse. Now something else I want to share with you in this video is right here at the base of the kumquat tree. We got a nice little patch of Greek oregano. This wonderful perennial herb is cold hardy, can be grown all the way down to USDA Climate Zones 5 as a perennial, and with its many different uses as a culinary herb, it definitely earns a place in the garden. Commonly used in sauces, to season meats, added to salads, and of course a flavor enhancing ingredient on many pizzas. Oregano's aromatic, spicy, flavor-enhancing qualities make it the perfect herb to grow throughout your garden. Now, besides being the wonderful culinary herb it is, oregano makes a wonderful ground cover or living mulch. I love planting it at the base of my fruit trees and other perennial trees and shrubs, and it really can have a symbiotic relationship with the plant it's growing nearby. In this case, with the kumquat, it's helping to shade out and protect the top layers of soil from drying out during the hot summer months. And as you can see here, it also works as a nice little catchment for some of the falling fruit. Nice soft landing, if you will. So I definitely want to spread this patch a little thicker in this area, get some more coverage and protection. But I've got patches of this growing here and there throughout the garden. In some areas, I use it more as a pathway living mulch because oregano can take some foot traffic. If you're walking over it every day, that's probably going to be too much, but the occasional passing by and stepping over some oregano, not a problem. And that little disruption when you step on the oregano releases some of those essential oils into the air. It smells wonderful. It can be used on slopes and hillsides as a means to prevent erosion. And all you need to do is start with just one plant. That's what I did. And I began separating by root division new plants every year. And it's so easy to do. Now I know this technique looks a little bit harsh, but what I found is that the oregano actually thrives and does better when I rough it up a little bit. So oregano can be grown from seed, but it's extremely easy to propagate. It can be grown from cutting, but I don't see really why you'd need to do that when it's so easy to get so many plants through root division. Now what I like to do is take some of those younger little plants with roots on them and put them in a bit of sand to further grow out so I can get a more established root system, a bit larger, more mature plant to transfer out into the garden. It increases success rates and you start off with a more mature, resilient plant. and you can do this in soil as well. I love the sand method because you can really pack in many plants in a small container, and if you separate them at the right time, the sand just easily flushes off the roots, and it's easy to separate out your plants and plant them out. If you were to stuff this many plants in some potting mix, for example, those roots are going to intertwine together and all the potting mix will become one big brick, which you can still separate the plants, but it's more damaging to those root systems that you've been trying to develop and sets you back a bit. So the sand technique works wonderfully. You just plant them in there, give them a little bit of water, keep the sand moist, and in a few weeks you can transplant those out around your garden. Well, my friends, that's going to do it for this video. If you found it helpful or entertaining in any way, I sure would appreciate if you smash the thumb button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. New uploads every week, sometimes every day, and I'm always giving you updates on everything growing on around here. So with that, take care. I'll be talking to you again soon. Thank you.